Welcome to Brothers in Aerospace and Defense, the podcast that dives deep into the world of aerospace and defense with a unique perspective. I'm your P&L host, DeWayne Allen.
And I'm Rob Wesley, your technical host.
Together, we explore the intersection of strategy, innovation, and impact in aerospace and defense. We spotlight the trends shaping the industry and the Black excellence driving it forward.
And today, we're unpacking one of the most ambitious defense initiatives on the table, and that's America's Golden Dome Defense Program.
We'll explore how it works technically, which companies are building it, and how it's reflected in the FY26 defense budget. And most importantly, what it means for the future of defense innovation. Now, Rob, this isn't just another missile defense upgrade, right?
Of course not. This is the future of warfare so that space-based sensors, artificial intelligence, hypersonic interceptors, and laser systems, and that's all fused together.
So if you're leading a defense firm, if you are launching a startup, or just trying to understand where defense tech is headed, this episode is for you. Let's get into the newsreel. Let's kick off the show with the top headlines from July 2025 across aerospace, defense, and national security. Number one, the big beautiful bill passed for $150 billion defense boost. Congress passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, allocating $150 billion in additional defense funding through FY29. Key line items include $25 billion for the Golden Dome missile shield, $29 billion for shipbuilding, $25 billion to replenish U.S. precision guided mission stockpiles. Analysts call this the largest mid-cycle realignment of defense investments since post 9/11. Number two, Delta and Ness launched SAF-powered transatlantic flights. Delta Airlines, in partnership with Ness, launched the first SAF-powered daily transatlantic flight from New York to Amsterdam. Powered by 30% blend of sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, this supports both IATA goals and Airbus Boeing sustainability roadmaps. Number three, Anduril unveils autonomous interceptor platform. Defense startup Anduril and Industries debuted its AI-guided autonomous interceptor system capable of launching from a fixed or mobile platforms. Designed to integrate with the Golden Dome's kill web architecture system, it marks a leap in fire and forget defensive capability from a missile defense perspective. And lastly, Boeing launches a digital twin services platform. Boeing introduced its Fleet IQ, a digital twin service aimed at helping airlines optimize fuel, burn, maintenance, and emissions. The system supports both 787 and 737 MAX fleets and integrates predictive maintenance with generative AI models. Most U.S. carriers and Japan Airlines are going to be early adopters of this. What you think about it, Rob?
I mean, I think the common thread for every program, every new initiative, from the Golden Dome, JASC2, hypersonics, they all rely on a tight integration across several services, tech, and industry. So we're watching the new industrial base take shape in real time. One of the things it seems like always popping up is Anduril. So they have a new autonomous interceptor platform, which is great for the defense landscape, but they're always coming out with something new, cutting edge.
Yeah, another cool one, which we talked about last month as well, that was rolled out at the Paris Air Show, right, was the sustainable aviation fuel. And that actually happened, and they launched their first transatlantic flight with Delta going across from New York to Amsterdam. So like we talked about a lot about on commercial aerospace throughout these podcasts we've had, right? Sustainability is important. And we're finally seeing industry at the forefront of moving it forward. So it's always awesome.
It's great to see from a defense contractor, company, enthusiast. It's everything that we would need going forward as far as those new cutting edge programs for autonomous systems and things like that and platforms. But like I said, you see the Golden Dome Shield missile, this program that is coming up. And then everything coming on with the Navy, Air Force. So it is great to see that bill pass.
Yeah. It's definitely going to get us all, keep us real busy, both me and you personally, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Let's get into our next segment.
The main event, and that's the Golden Dome defense program.
So, Rob, if someone asked you in the elevator, what is the Golden Dome? What is your answer?
So, I mean, I'm trying to get this right from a elevator speech standpoint. So, in my view, it's a layered AI-driven missile defense network that connects satellites, radars, and interceptors to stop airborne threats in all three phases that covers the continental U.S. and associated territories. So, if you think about it in phases, you have the boost phase, which is right after the launch, the mid-course phase, which is while it's in space, and then the terminal phase, which is upon reentry.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, Rob, just walk us through how it works.
Okay, let's do it. So I'll do into various steps. So step one is detection. So that's the space base. So satellites in low Earth orbits or LEO, like Orb Shield and assets from the National Defense Space Architecture, detect missile launches in real time using the infrared sensors and radar signatures.
So we're talking seconds, not minutes.
Exactly. That detection happens in under 15 seconds. So really quick. Step two of this is the tracking and data fusion. So that's the ground-based radars. So ground platforms like LTAMs, that's the lower tier air and missile defense sensor, and SPY-6 naval radar systems track that object. And that data is fused through the Joint All Command and Control, or JATC2.
So which means what, Rob?
I mean, that means every service, Army, Navy, Space Force, Air Force, and then is plugged in and sharing that data real time across each other. Step three is that AI threat prioritization. So artificial intelligence algorithms analyze trajectory, speed, threat level, and intent. And then they accomplish this, which they recommend which interceptors should engage.
And this is what we call the kill web, right?
Exactly. So not just a kill chain, but a web of nodes deciding what gets shot, when, and with what. And step four is the interceptor options.
So how do we neutralize the threat?
I mean, it's multiple different options based on the altitude and speed. So THAAD, which is the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, is great for exo-atmospheric interceptors. GPI, which is the Glide Phase Interceptor, is designed for renewable hypersonic threats. The Patriot PAC-3 MSE, so which is the Missile Segment Enhancement, handles those lower altitude ballistic missiles. SM-6, which is the Standard Missile 6, handles really the multi-role for aircraft, cruise missiles, and some ballistic targets. And high energy laser weapon system is for the drone swarms and that short range defense.
So we're talking satellites, interceptors, and lasers, all coordinated by AI, and of course with a human in the loop.
You got it right on the head. So that's all in under 60 seconds from launch detection to interception.
That's next level capability. Now we talked about, all the great stuff about it. What are some of the limitations that you think that's here, Rob?
Integration across the service branches is always a challenge. So the interoperability, the latency, and the edge compute bandwidth are still being tested. So within those technology gap readiness, numerous untested or emerging technologies, especially space-based interceptors and lasers, must demonstrate that viability and scalability. And then you also have the deployment complexity. So the NASA-style orbital constellations of interceptors require a high launch cadence, precise orbital mechanics, and rapid repositioning. And that's all necessary to this massive logistical support. And then you also have the command and control fusion, and then industry scale up and supply chain. So, that's just some of the limitations that we could talk about right now.
So basically, Golden Dome has pockets of stuff that's ready and stuff and things that need to be advanced. And then we got some evolutionary capabilities that's got to come to bear.
Absolutely. And that's with any major new development program, especially if someone of this size and this magnitude. But it's a decisive move away from the siloed defense systems. So the projected timeline for this is January 27th, we had that executive order signed. And then the appointed program head was by May 2025. And the aim to deliver this was by January 2029, so the end of the Trump term. And then the Pentagon says it's still demonstrations are expected by the end of 2028. So you see that timeline of by 2029, but 2028 is going to be the demonstration. Still a lot of runway to go ahead, but I don't want to get too much into the technical details. I really want to discuss, how does all of this fluctuate with the budget?
So Rob walked us through the technical capabilities of this Golden Dome. I'm going to, and as we do with all these episodes, I'm the one to tell you about the budget and how we're going to try to execute this thing across the board, right? So the defense budget is still in review, but it aims to be right at projections of $890 billion through 2029. We talked about the One Big Beautiful Bill, which is an additional $150 billion carved out across FY26 and FY29, and then specifically 25 or explicitly 25 billion of that is earmarked for the foundational layers of Golden Dome Missile Shield, which is a significant down payment because the program is right now projected to cost about 175 billion. Now, Bob, we know how that looks, right? Those projections are exactly that. Projections, right? They are exactly that, right? And so let's follow some of the money. Right? Yeah. So just know it's going up, America. Just so it know it's just going up. That is a fact, right? So let's look at some of the key programs and agencies that go across that we talked about. So the Missile Defense Agency, which is one of the main executors of particularly these efforts, they got roughly $10.4 billion that's in their budget. The ground-based mid-course defense system, that's all the radars, and NGI, which is the next generation interceptor development, that's another $2.7 billion. THAAD, which we talked about earlier, they incorporated another $732 billion. Now THAAD is operable now. It's live and in color, and that's for just more procurement and more integration across the Army. The other pieces of it, you got Defense of Guam. You have the ANTP2 radar upgrades that's happening. All these things are active. You got C2 BMC, which is command, control, battle management, and communications. That's another $517 million. Again, something that's already active. GPI, which is the newer hypersonics program. The glide phase interceptor is $182 million. So that's taking the test for development. And then you got Rob talked about Hellwiz earlier, right? That's under directed energy weapons. That's the lasers, and that's another $789 million that's going to be allocated within the budget for that. And this funding supports all the different layers of the Golden Dome architecture that Rob talked about earlier, which is an emphasis on the radars, the interceptors, and the command and control systems, which all plays in the piece. And then of course, when we talk about the coordination piece, that's where the big JADC2 comes in, right? And JADC2 is one of those, it's that interoperable all domain command and control where every service got his own name for it, right, Rob? Every service got a bit for it, right?
Exactly.
So right, and it's $1.4 billion to keep that moving. Like the Air Force has the ABMS, which is the Advanced Battle Management System. The Army has the Titan program and Project Convergence, which is the experimental environment where we do live and virtual testing to test on the capabilities of the new command and control. And then the Navy has its version, which is Project Overmatch, right? Which does similar things to that. And this funding helps synchronize the entire architecture from the sensor to the shooter, and it's across all the domains: space, air, land, and sea.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of information, DeWayne. So I mean, we could spend a whole episode as far as why the various service branches are have their own separate systems, but we'll keep it
Right.
keep it focused on the Golden Dome right now. But it's a lot of integration, interoperability that needs to happen for all this to work. I'm curious to know, as far as who's building this and who's leading the charge for all this work being done. Because it's not monopoly money. It's real money. It's like these billions and multiple hundreds of millions that are being thrown out there.
That's right. So it's real money, right? And so the usual players are there. You got RTX, Raytheon, which has most of the interceptors to some of the satellites, ORB satellites, and the LTAMS radar. Lockheed is there. They have the space-based ISR, the system. They have the glide phase interceptor, as well as some of the. They also do. No, I'm sorry. They got the THAAD system, the fire control networks, and the GPI development. Northrop Grumman has the space-based ISR. Glide phase interceptor and cyber integrated communication. Of course, our Grumman friends and our Lockheed friends probably kicked me in the teeth because I got it mixed up, but that's our fault. And then, of course, you got our brothers and sisters at Boeing. They got all the launch platforms and integration of the airborne modules, very critical in that. And then the new up and comings, as we've been talking about all year along, Palantir and Anduril, right? They got all the AI driven battlefield operating system activity, and they're doing all the data fusion that's putting it together, right?
Yeah. And I think with more AI type systems being integrated into like the major defense programs, I mean, it's an open lane for a lot of these new companies. I mean, Palantir, Anduril are the main players right now, as you can see, but I think there's a lane opening up for some other major defense contractors in this, big four defense contractor that we've seen previously in the past couple of decades. But I think this program is driving a massive industry shifts. DeWayne, talk to me more about those industry shifts that you're seeing.
Yeah, man. So, I go way back with exoatmospheric MDA when one of my first early roles before when the Missile Defense Agency was at the Navy Annex in DC, right? So that's just 20 years ago when that happened, and everything was siloed, right? And from space to radar to missile defense, and now everything is interoperable, right? Everything has to be connected, and that's the same way how business is being interconnected, interoperable. And this administration, particularly SecDef, has been doing a yeoman's job to ensure that we are playing nice together, right? And they're also making sure that we engage small business and doing a whole lot of things, right? As we think about that from a business perspective, what are your thoughts around supply chain and workforce impact?
I mean, I think the supply chain and workforce implications are great. I mean, companies are being more incentivized to bring manufacturing stateside, as we've seen with the tariffs and everything like that. And that's to reduce the dependency on vulnerable supply chains for semiconductors, sensors, energetics. We're seeing that return of an industrial base retooling, which is like kind of that smaller tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers that are getting more absorbed and upgraded to meet that demands for precision machining, lithium ion power, and also that optimal tech. So I see that space of supply chain and workforce impact being great for us, stateside as we, I guess embark on this AI-driven programs as we move forward.
Yeah, it's a real opportunity, basically. So we're talking about new subcontracting opportunities. As you you live in it. It's the more CIBR style innovation grants. They want fresh thinking in these C2 command and control and AI domains. They're using different type of the newer and different contracting vehicles, which back in the day everything had to be tier 1, Act 1 certified to get through. Now it's all OTA, MTA, that's OTA, other transaction authority, MTA, middle tier, transaction authority contracts to get lanes where these small minority firms, women-owned firms, all these into the supply chain. And because these guys, even the big, you would think like Google and Microsoft and those type of big big tech firms, they're actually utilizing those contracting authorities, opportunities, and transactions to actually bring the cyber and AI to there, as well as the secure manufacturing for the our hot lanes from that perspective, right? So we gotten through and talked about the businesses, right? And from your point, Rob, let's just talk strategically what all this means, right?
I mean, that from my standpoint, it's a lot of collaborations. What I see is the opportunities moving forward. You see a lot of the bigger companies, partner with a lot of the other smaller companies that are a little bit more agile to bring new technology forward. That is a great avenue that we could explore. Is really like a Silicon Valley approach to defense contracting, where you're partnering with someone to,
Yeah.
you have this lane, we have this lane, and we're just all doing it together
Right.
at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's also from a workforce perspective, right? It's like driving demand for a hybrid type talent, right? Like
Yep.
engineers like me and you, we used to, hey, I need an industrial engineer, electrical engineer, computer engineer, software engineer. Now it's like, no, I need a hybrid engineer who can do system integration and software and no AI, can lead a team, and and people who can, see something from beginning to end and execute in a different manner, more integrated manner than it was like stovepipe of, hey, I'm an industrial engineer, I'm a system engineer, I do the requirements, and I throw it over
Yeah.
the fence, right, to execution, right, to the ops guys go finish that, or the
Mm-hmm.
test team for that perspective, right.
Exactly. And I think to that point, like the hybrid roles is, I think every leader in the company needs to be thinking it, from a business standpoint. So there's like, you should be asking your teams, where does my company fit in this value chain? What certifications do we need to have? What partnerships, technology, where does it play in that full ecosystem? And how are we building that workforce to reflect the new defense innovation, how that's really evolving as we speak, going through this. Because, like I said, defense is right now going through a major defense digital transformation. So a lot of these companies need to really, get on board with this new approach that we're going through.
Right. And as you think about it, we talk about the workforce all the time, right? The workforce is, with us, got decades of experience in there. That's, we're going to be, I hate to say it, we're going to start being the extinct, right? There's going to be, a 5-year
Yep.
fresh kid, 5 years out of school. Next thing you know, they're running a program, a multi-billion-dollar program, right? With AI and all this fusion of engineers. The talent necessarily is going to be a lot faster from that perspective. But also, what's good, I think, for the workforce, for the people who actually add value, to put hammer to nail and screwdrivers to screws, there's going to be a definite opportunity, because definitely we're going to need the robotics to do that, but we're definitely going to need the workforce, the human in the loops, to make sure that those things get accomplished. So I'm excited about what this is going to bring to our industry. And I'm also as we've been in this almost all our careers, right? It's just really interesting to see us coming together and build something to protect the continental U.S. and our territory. So it's also cool.
Yep. Absolutely. Today we've explored the vision, the architecture, and the real world mechanics of the Golden Dome. And that's a system that turns multi-domain awareness into active defense.
Yeah, from a budget and industry perspective, this is just not a 1-year flash. It's going to be a 10-year, 15-year shift in how we fund and deploy layered defense. We want to thank you for joining us for our live episode here today. Be sure to like and share and subscribe across all the platforms. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, of course, YouTube, iHeart, Podbean as well.
And leave a comment below and then tell us what excites and concerns you most about the future of integrated defense. Till next time, see you soon.
This is DeWayne and Rob signing off. Peace.